You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns. Welcome to Chakras and Shotguns, the podcast that guides you on a journey of spiritual development and personal preparedness. I'm Jen, a former lawyer, yogi, and tarot card reader.
And I'm Mik, a marketer, energy healer, and prepper.
Mik and I have expanded our spirituality, if you've been following the podcast, beyond our traditional Christian upbringing in the last couple of years. And as we entered into some of these spaces that are more new age, metaphysical spirituality, we just kept hearing people talk about the Archangels.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we went into this crystal shop and we got our auras read. And the aura reader does our reading, and afterwards she asked me, "Do you work with any of the Archangels?" And I was like, huh? I mean, work with? What does that even mean? So today we're going to talk about the Archangels, who they are, what they represent, and how you can work with them.
But before we get into it, I did want to tell you all about our revamped Patreon page. We simplified to 2 levels, and they're amazing. I think both levels are amazing. And so we'll also be adding bonus content each month. For example, we talked about our experiences at Energy Vortexes in the last episode. And on Patreon, we've shared some amazing photos and videos from our time at these places. And a couple of photos in particular show some spooky activity. So get into it.
Yes, indeed. Go to patreon.com/chakras and shotguns to check that out.
Okay, so let's move on to the breath work. This is not necessarily something I'm needing to work on right now in this moment. It's something that I had to work on earlier this week. Had a little interpersonal conflict between me and a family member, and decided to take a beat, meditate. It was getting me very riled up and just not in a great space. And well, I'll give Mik credit. He told me to go meditate. So I went to go meditate, and I felt led to do this exercise that I have not done frequently, but I am going to be adding to my regular meditation practice. And it's something that I like to call energy recovery. So I am going to lead you all through that today. So let's find a comfortable seat and lay down if you want to. You know, I'm always a proponent of laying down. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with 3 deep cleansing breaths in through your nose. So let's inhale, expanding your belly, holding at the top. And let's exhale all of that air back out through your mouth. Let's do that again. Inhaling in through your nose. And when you get to the top, take your shoulders up to your ears and then back down your back, relaxing your shoulders. And then let's exhale that breath back out through your mouth. Last breath together, inhaling in through your nose, expanding your belly, filling your body up with all of this juicy air. And this time, we're going to exhale that breath back out through your nose. So now that we're aware of our breath, checking in with your body quickly so you just understand where you might be holding, where you could relax more. Is your jaw relaxed? Are you frowning? Making sure that you're not holding as we enter into the exercise. I want you to imagine your aura, if you're familiar. If not, if this is a new exercise for you, imagine an outline of your body. I like to imagine mine as golden light. And as you're seeing yourself almost in your mind's eye, covered, surrounded, outlined in golden light, let's start with the intention that I am calling back my energy, wherever it may be, back into myself. So I almost visualize little strings of golden light that are going into all of the places where I pour my energy every day, whether that's Mik, my kids, work, home, family, friends, all of the places where we think about our mind being divided and how many tabs we have open, but where is our energy going? So let's start to pull those strands back into ourselves and imagine them being reeled back into ourselves. And maybe you can visualize your aura getting a little bit brighter, feeling a little bit stronger. Now that you've called that energy back into yourself. Gratitude for the abundance of energy that we have to even split it that many different ways. But ultimately knowing that it belongs to you. The other part of this visualization exercise that I like to do is unhooking, where we might not say negative energy, but dense energy that's not really for your highest good, where it may be hooking into you. Maybe it's a coworker where you feel like they got it out for you, or maybe it's this conflict that you're dealing with, or where maybe it's someone projecting something onto you that's not your truth and not your reality. And so I imagine it as almost like barbs or fish hooks that are stuck onto me that don't belong with me. So imagine yourself unhooking each of those. Maybe seeing where your body might have relaxed a little bit more, where you may have stopped holding, even though I told you to stop holding like 30 seconds ago. All right. I hope you feel better. I think it makes me feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more free, a little bit less weighed down.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Thank you for that, Jen. I think as you were talking through that, I was reminded that way back when I had my past life regression session with Marcy Barron, one of the things we did, we went through one of my past lives, and there was a very traumatic ending to one of those lives. And part of my energy was still trapped in that traumatic event. And so she walked me through, as part of that session, asking Archangel Michael to come and help me to reclaim that energy that was trapped across time and space. So I think that segues very nicely into our main topic, which is the Archangels. So let's get into it.
I don't know if Mik's gonna edit this out of the breath work, but he kind of lost himself when I was in there doing it. He hit a Baptist church on the mic.
I'm keeping it in.
So I feel like I should have known more about the Archangels. I mean, I grew up they had me in the first half, Missionary Baptist Church, and we ended up going non-denominational when I was 14, 15. And I feel and my mom was raised Methodist. I feel like somewhere along the way, somebody should have told me more about the Archangels, but we did not really name them when I was growing up.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you any of their names. I mean, I knew that Michael was one, but other than that, it was that's Jesus and the angels. The angels were kind of like the Pips, Gladys Knight. We just didn't know their names. It was they were just backup.
What if one of the Pips listens to the show?
I don't know his name. That's the point. He's one of the pips. And that's how we treated the archangels. He was just one of the angels in church.
Anyways, in the modern canonical, that's a word for you.
Say it again.
In the modern canonical version of the Bible that we grew up with, there are actually only 2 mentions of the word archangel. And those are in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16, and Jude chapter 1, verse 9. That actually I feel like I'm back in VBS, like reciting Bible verse. Like I was like,
VBS is Vacation Bible School for those who do not know.
Sorry. Yes. I was like, it's chapter then verse. Lord. I hadn't recited a Bible verse in a long time. But anyways, those 2 verses mention the word archangel. Jude chapter 1, verse 9 mentions Archangel Michael. So maybe, baby, that's where you remember hearing about Archangel Michael, Mik.
Yes. So let's get into the official Wikipedia definition of archangels. So we're talking about high-level angels that show up in many different spiritual traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They are believed to be messengers of God and have special powers and abilities to help and protect humanity.
That's great. That's fantastic. I love that definition. I think I'm trying to marry the absence of talking about archangels in traditional Christian upbringing with the fact that archangels have these superpowers and they're supposed to come and help humans. It's just a very interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like growing up, they were like the angels. They got wings and they play the trumpet from time to time. Like maybe they have a message or two, but it's only to a very, very select few.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Some other people.
Yeah, no, exactly. They are spoken of in this way as if the angel stopped speaking to humans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it happened way back then and it kind of chilled out in modern times. That's kind of how it's thought of in church. Like I don't ever remember hearing somebody standing up and giving a testimony saying Archangel Michael came to me and told me something, right? Like that's not something you hear in the churches that I grew up in.
And depending on what type of church you were in and how you get down and what level you are in that church, they might be like, she got a demon in her. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
if it was the pastor, an angel came and told me this, he's so divinely led.
Mm-hmm.
He's anointed.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a 12-year-old girl, no, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like, because of our own human prejudices as to who angels can and cannot talk to, which is like, also, I kind of feel like this is like a preview for the next episode that we're currently working on about how things that we're told can get in the way of what we feel we have access to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I definitely feel like growing up, I would have never have thought that I would have any type of relationship with an angel. Like I was like, I see you when I see you. Hopefully it's when I'm 102.
Right? It was like the club bouncer was going to be an angel to get into heaven. You know what I mean? And we weren't going to see him until we got there. That's kind of how it was always explained to me.
Why at the club?
I just imagine like, a bouncer with a clipboard and he got wings.
You just thinking about the club. Heathen.
Like you're not on the list.
I'm getting back on task. So in Christianity, outside of the canonical Bible, the book of Enoch, which, that is something I just learned about probably in the past year or two. The book of Enoch mentions the archangels. So in researching this, I found that the Catholic Church and some other Orthodox denominations recognize certain books that the Protestant denominations, and we're talking like Methodist, Baptist, Bible Church, non-denominational, they don't recognize. Now, all of that to say, Mik and I, we love to learn. We kind of love going to school, but we are not religious studies scholars. I do not ever plan on going to seminary. So we never knew this. We're also not the experts in this, though.
Yeah, there's actually a word that I still can't pronounce. I'm going to try. Deuterocanonical.
Come on.
That describes these books.
Sound it out.
One of those books is the Book of Tobit. Okay, never heard of this book until I started researching this. That book mentions the Archangel Raphael. Multiple archangels also appear in the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Coptic Church, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Now, these are some of the oldest forms of Christianity. They are, way before we got to Mount Grove Missionary Baptist Church and all the ones we got over here, right? And some of those, they started back at like 55 AD, and they all have these mentions of the archangel. So it's something that's been a part of Christianity a long, long time ago, and somewhere along the way it got lost in translation, and we only know Michael in our version of the Bible. So
one note before we leave the deuterocanonical. You see how I did that?
Nice.
When you were saying that, I was gonna be like, take your time, baby, take your time. But one note before we get off of that is, this is something that really blew my mind. And there is a whole doctrine around this, that the Bible is the complete and only word of God in the Christian faith. Mm-hmm. And what we know, and what biblical scholars know, and what people who went to seminary school apparently know, is that these books were chosen. These books were it was a bunch of books written around the same time. And these 66 books, 66, right? Lord, I'm going to fail at Bible Jeopardy. These books were chosen to be in the Bible. And if you decide to explore, and I mean, you can just go on TikTok, of course you can Google whatever, but different books were kind of held out for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And it does beg the question, why were they held out? I think some of the things that the church at the time wanted to perpetuate, propagate, make sure that their congregations were sticking to might have been in conflict with some of those other books. Mm-hmm. So, we can explore that another time. Maybe that'll be another episode. I don't know.
All right.
But moving on, the Quran, the holy book of the Muslim faith, mentions 4 archangels, and the Talmud, it's a Jewish text, also mentions 4 archangels.
So there is no exact set of archangels. They appear in different combinations across different traditions. However, the most commonly known include Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Azrael, and Metatron.
Each one is associated with different areas of life, so let's run down each one of these.
So starting first with Michael, he is often depicted holding a sword or shield. He is considered the lead archangel, and he is an archangel for protection and is invoked for strength and courage in times of need. He is also associated with the sun and fire and is said to be able to dispel fear and negativity. Michael appears across Christianity, Islam, and Judaism.
Yeah, so Archangel Michael is dear to me. Mm-hmm. He first popped up for me in a reading with Melanie. And this is when my first reading with Melanie, Mik was like, I don't know about all of that. This is the very beginning of our spiritual journey as far as this goes.
Go back and listen to episode 1 for some of that context.
Yeah, Mik was like, I don't know about all that. And so I very distinctly remember he was getting ready for something. And I was like, he was like, so how did it go? And I'm telling him about it. And I was like, Archangel Michael showed up. I was like, angels are in here? What? Angels came to see about me through this psychic medium. I don't really know what to do with this, where to put this, but very consistently, Archangel Michael shows up in my readings and in my meditations. And how that can look is Archangel Michael typically wears blue. And so it's less about clairvoyance. It's not like I close my eyes and I can see Archangel Michael's face. It's more about a presence. And sometimes I get hints of color. And it's kind of hard to describe. It's very personal, but not in a secretive way. But it's hard to explain how I feel in my body that I know that Archangel Michael is with me.
Mm-hmm. There's been times I've seen blue orbs. So Archangel Michael is also an archangel that's been around me quite a bit as well. And I've seen blue orbs out of the corner of my left eye a lot when I've felt his presence. So that could be something that you experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to Gabriel. Known as the messenger angel, Gabriel is associated with communication and is said to be able to bring divine messages and guidance. He is also associated with the moon and water and is invoked for help with decision making and problem solving. Gabriel is the angel that dictated the Quran to Muhammad and told Mary that she would give birth to Jesus.
Yeah, I've actually had visions of Archangel Gabriel before. Like I woke up, it's like usually when that kind of quasi awake sleeping state, right? There's a scientific term of like your brain waves and where they are there. But for the folks listening, it's like in between sleeping and awake. I get a lot of visions sometimes. And one was very, very vivid. I knew it was Gabriel. He had a very like large trumpet and was like basically at the edge of our bed, like kind of in our bedroom. So yeah.
But if you had to parse that out, did you recognize him through sight or did you just know?
It was more claircognizance, yeah. Knowing, yeah.
I feel like we need to revisit all of the clairs.
Yeah, at some point.
In another episode. Because it can be very tricky and why you have to really trust yourself and trust your intuition and your gut. Because you're like, how do I know? How do I know? And it doesn't look like how it looks on TV. And but that's cool.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Raphael. This is considered the healing angel. Raphael is associated with health and well-being. The name Raphael, it actually means God heals. He is said to be able to heal physical and emotional wounds and to bring harmony and balance to one's life. He is also associated with the element of air and is invoked for travel and protection on journeys. So as I've gotten more into energy healing, I actually have read more about Archangel Raphael. His color is often green. And so, yeah, I've gotten really into like having more green crystals like in my healing area and working more with him when I'm trying to treat people with my energy healing. So it's an archangel that I've kind of grown over the last couple of years to work with more.
What are some of the crystals you use?
So I have a fluorite and I have a malachite that I work with. Yeah.
Was malachite the stone that I had in labor? Okay.
It was, yes. That's known as the midwife's stone.
Yeah. Oh, I was rubbing that stone for dear life, child. That labor was rough. Oh, I guess it helped. She shot on out of there like a rocket. Anyways, enough about that. Moving on to Uriel, often depicted holding a flame. Uriel is associated with wisdom and spiritual understanding. In some depictions, he has a flaming sword and is the angel that guards the Garden of Eden. He is said to be able to bring insight and clarity and to help one navigate the spiritual path. He's also associated with the element of earth and is invoked for protection and grounding.
So I do remember hearing about this angel. He was unnamed, like in church. But again, it's this bouncer idea. Like we got kicked out of the Garden of Eden and he was like holding down the door. Like again, this image of club bouncers.
You still trying to go to the club?
So moving on to Azrael. Azrael, in many religious traditions, including Judaism, Islam, and some forms of Christianity, he appears and is referred to as the angel of death. He is associated with the process of dying and the transition of the soul from this world to the next. Some people might choose to work with Azrael to help them come to terms with death and dying, or to help guide a loved one through the process of dying.
Metatron. Now, when I first heard this one, I first heard this one in another Melanie reading, and she said that, and I was like, run that back, please. Because I love the Transformers franchise, okay? Mik and I are very nerdy, and I think that might have been where I took it a little too far. I think he was a little surprised by how much I love Transformers.
Like, I think she might want me to get an Optimus Prime suit for the bedroom.
Oh my gosh, Nicholas, we're talking about... Oh my gosh, we are talking about archangels. And at every turn, you've tried to make this just in the gutter. The club, sex.
Anyway, If y'all know where I can get an Optimus Prime suit, let me know. Hit your boy up.
You don't. Okay, I'm not gonna say that on the podcast. I'll put it like this: it's less about the suit and it's more about the voice. Okay, but it's not. I'm not attracted to Optimus Prime. I just think Transformers are cool. I always have since I was a kid. Okay, but anywho, please, are we back on task?
Yes, let's go for it.
Thank you. Metatron is classified as an archangel by some, and others list him as simply an angel. Metatron is recognized in Judaism and Christianity and considered to be among the most powerful of angels. He is associated with helping us through grief, finding peace during times of crisis, and finding deeper spiritual connection.
Yeah, so those are the most commonly referenced archangels that I've seen. We have a great book that gives an overview of 200 celestial beings, including the archangels. It's called The Complete Encyclopedia of Angels by Susan Gregg. There are 12 more archangels listed in that book, so we'll link that in the show notes if you're interested.
So let's go all the way back to Mik's interaction with the aura reader when she asked if Archangel Michael also has the same security badge to his office. When she asked if he worked with Archangel Michael. How can we work with the archangels?
So one way that people can work with archangels spiritually is through meditation and prayer. So you can connect with the energy of a specific archangel and just really open yourself up to their guidance and support. Choose one of the archangels that is associated with whatever you need and call out to them during your meditation or prayer.
Some people also choose to work with archangels through visualization by imagining themselves in the presence of an archangel and asking for their help or guidance, which I feel like I kind of marry the two.
Mm-hmm. You can also get like a depiction of the angels, whether that's like a painting or a sculpture, and add them to your altar. And so when you're doing your altar work, you can, again, meditate or pray and speak directly to them. We actually have a shelf that has our ancestor altar on it, and like another one of the shelves underneath the ancestor area, we have these really cool like sculpture type statues of Archangel Michael and Gabriel, and so we work with those statues from time to time.
Yes, and this is somewhat of an aside. It's related, but Christmas time is Black Santas all through the house. Hashtag Black Santa. We have all the Black Santas on the tree, on the media chest, everywhere. And when Mik told me he wanted to get some angels, I was like, okay, so what are they going to look like?
Now, y'all know me. I've read Know Thyself. And so I do not have depictions of the divine that do not look like my children, because I think it's really important for their self-esteem to see themselves represented in the divine.
Yes. And if you listen to episode 1 again, you know that a lot of this kicked off when we were in Ghana. And in Ghana, pictures of Jesus are everywhere. And in Ghana, Jesus is dirty blonde, very bright, piercing blue eyes, eyelash extensions, hair extensions, very, very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Beat face, okay? And so we were very conscious about finding figurines that looked like us. If Mik can find where he got those, we'll put that in the show notes. Hopefully we can find it.
I've been thinking about going back and getting a sculpture of Archangel Raphael to add to the collection. So I do remember where I can find it. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I will link that in the show notes.
Before we wrap up, I did want to say this. Something I have been thinking about, and there are other instances where this comes up, is how institutions control, shape, limit our access to the divine. And what that may look like. If your knowledge, if you are ignorant of all of the resources that you have to call on for help, where can that possibly force you to go? We've seen this a lot in the Catholic Church, like the old school Catholic Church. Like, for instance, the whole reason why they wanted priests to be celibate is because they didn't want priests to have kids, because then those kids may be heirs to some of those priests' assets. And if they don't have kids, then all their assets go back to the church. Like, it was a money grab. So it's just something to think about. Maybe that's a whole other episode. Look at me. I brainstormed like 3-4 episodes in this whole this one episode. It's like a working session. Are you writing these down?
I got them.
Okay. So hopefully that answers any questions you might have had about the archangels, and it helps you incorporate working with them into your spiritual practices. Remember that the archangels are always with us and are always willing to help and guide us if we open ourselves up to their energy. In some belief systems, it's said that the angels can only intercede if we ask them to, because they don't want to interfere with our free will, which again calls back to the question that I've been pondering, right? If the angels cannot help us unless we ask, what kind of divine help are we missing out on?
All right. So take some time to connect with the archangels, guys. Before we go, though, we do want to remind you to check out that Patreon page. You can find it on patreon.com/chakras and shotguns. Tons of great stuff there. We have merch discounts. We have a prepper checklist that you can download. We have those bonus content that we talked about earlier. On one of the plans, you can even get readings and Reiki sessions included as a part of your Patreon support. So go ahead and check that out.
And finally, if you're loving the show, please subscribe, give us 5 stars wherever you listen.
Namaste.